Good evening, everyone, everyone present and everyone who may be listening online. I'm High Point Mayor Jay Wagner. I'd like to welcome you to the June 21st, 2021 regular meeting of the High Point City Council. There's no need to call the roll because all 9 members of council are here physically present at City Hall. We do have a quorum. We're ready to proceed with our business. Before we begin, though, I would like to ask everyone to please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Before we begin, we have a couple of recognitions and presentations. The first one, I would like to recognize our city clerk, Lisa Veerling, for a presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Wagner. Move this stuff out of the way here. I would like you all to join me, and for those that don't know Mary Brooks, she is our Deputy City Clerk. She has been with us since March of 2019. And Mary, right here. So this is Mary. And we're going to be congratulating her tonight. She has achieved her CMC, which is Certified Municipal Clerk status, from the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. She had to work very hard to attain that status. She was accepted into the 2020 Clerk Certification Institute at the UNC Chapel Hill School of Government. And they offered rigorous course offerings. It involved an average of 160 instructional hours. She graduated from the Clerk Certification Institute in October. She's behind me and I don't like that. In October of 2020, she took the test, of course, and passed. But she now has to continue her education, and she submitted her application after taking additional courses needed to achieve her certification. And so now she is a CMC through the IMC, and that is a nationally recognized certification. So the next step for Mary is to, of course, continue her education and become an MMC, which is a Master Municipal Clerk. So if you will, please join me in congratulating Mary on this outstanding accomplishment.
Congratulations, Mary.
Great job.
Okay, next item on the agenda, I would like to recognize the North Carolina Secretary of State, the Honorable Elaine Marshall, for a presentation.
Mr. Mayor, council members, it's a delight to be here tonight in High Point, North Carolina. One of the great fun aspects of being Secretary of State is to be able to represent the state of North Carolina at various memorable moments happening in the state. And tonight is one of those. Tonight we're recognizing, and I'm here to recognize on behalf of the state, Dot Kearns. I didn't want you to fall out of your chair, so. Dot, you are a personal hero of mine. You are a trailblazer. You are a role model for me and many other women in public service. So for all of us, thank you very much. Now, a person like I am that has to give speeches every once in a while, there are some dilemmas that we face, two in particular ones. One is that usually at a time like this, you recite someone's chronology of accomplishments. Well, I would have to have a roll of wallpaper to do that tonight, so we're going to skip over some of the specifics. The second is, and this is a real problem, that it's a language problem. Dot, when you and I were learning to speak, words had certain meanings, but that isn't true today. Some words are too very overused. Now, things don't mean what they used to. It used to be that fudge was a piece of candy, but now fudge is something that if you didn't do it right, you kind of say you did it right. That's a fudge. Woke, for me, that's the first thing I do in the morning before I put my feet on the ground, but that isn't what woke means anymore. And another overused word that I'm going to use tonight because it's most appropriate is awesome. Everything nowadays is awesome, but I'm here to tell the world that Dot Kearns is awesome, and that's what ought to be the definition in the dictionary. At the risk of another overused word, I also can add to that your impact has been awesome, your life has been awesome, and what you've meant to others, people you don't even know, has been awesome. The other thing that is popular now in linguistics is what's called a word cloud. And that is the word that, just like a cartoon where you see a bubble hanging over people's heads, and in that are the words that define something or what people are actually saying. So Dot, part of these are your guiding goals in life, and part is what other people say about you. Dot is sincere, concerned, approachable, emphatic, helpful, impactful, mindful, an advocate, honest, energetic, dedicated, grateful, kind, and thoughtful. And I'm going to add persevering to that as you continue to serve in your 90th year, your 9th decade as Vice Chair of the Public Schools First of North Carolina. You are still a trailblazer at age 90. If you will join me up here, I will present this capital citation to you. Come on up. Okay. You'll come here. It has the seal of the state of North Carolina. Hey, darling. Whereas Dorothy Dot Kendall Kearns was born on June 27, 1931 in High Point, North Carolina. And whereas Dot has led, shaped, and blazed a trail in her public service on the High Point Board of Education, Guilford County Board of Education, and Guilford County Board of Commissioners. And whereas Dot has lived her beliefs in service to the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, the League of Women Voters, and the causes of quality child care, early pre-K education, kids' votes, community justice, public health, and many other important causes. And whereas Dot has served publicly while being a successful realtor, wife, mother, and grandmother, who has received many awards during her lifetime, and she continues to serve her community in her 9th decade. Therefore, for distinguished service and upon the occasion of her 90th birthday, be it resolved through the issuance of this capital citation that this is proclaimed a day of celebration throughout the great state of North Carolina to honor Dorothy Dot Kendall Kearns for her decades of excellence in public service. In witness whereof, I've caused these letters to be made in the seal of the Department of Secretary of State hereunto affixed. That's a lot of lingo. The 21st day of June 2021, Elaine F. Marshall, and it has the gold seal of the state of North Carolina on it. We love you. We love you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's take a picture in the center. No, in the middle.
Where?
In the middle. In front of the mayor.
Oh, she's precious. Yes, she is. She is so precious.
Elaine, what an absolutely amazing week this has been. I've rarely ever found myself speechless, but I do now. I would hate to have to run for office right now because I wouldn't be able to say anything. And I've seen my old friends, I've seen my sister probably more than I usually ever do. What a just amazing week it has been, and I thank all of you, each one who is here today, and all of you who are serving our city so beautifully. I'm really proud of this team that you've made together. I never thought in my lifetime, though I was always hoping, but I never ever thought I would see the day when we would have 4 African Americans serving on High Point City Council. And one of these days, we may have some more women.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
Dot, stay right there because we're not finished. We're not finished
Nothing
with you yet.
surprises me anymore these days, I tell you.
Okay. Whereas it is remarkable how the efforts of one person can truly make a difference for so many. And whereas Dot Kern's years of service to the community have earned her the respect and admiration of the citizens of the city of High Point, and it is appropriate that she be designated as one of the finest among her peers. And whereas the High Point Board of Education, William Penn Foundation, Southwest High Point Renewal Foundation are only a sample of the many organizations upon which Dot has served families of High Point. And whereas her tireless efforts to improve and sustain public education for children and families in the city of High Point are unparalleled. And whereas Dot has demonstrated in countless ways a dedication to others and has earned the affection of people from all walks of life and all ages. She has used her voice to raise awareness about voting rights, education, environmental issues, and women's rights. And whereas the citizens of High Point wish to honor her on this special occasion and to say thank you for her caring spirit and for being a guidepost for all of us to follow. And whereas in recognition of her outstanding leadership and tireless work for the citizens of High Point, therefore be it resolved that I, Jay Wagner, Mayor of High Point, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim June 27th as Dorothy Dot Kern's Day in the city of High Point.
Appreciate that.
Ready, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure we're done meeting.
And Dot, one more thing, I think it's my turn. So I have 2 letters here. The first one from a Congresswoman, Alma Adams, and so she wanted me to read these to you, okay? Dear Mrs. Kearns, it is with great pleasure that I wish a distinguished, gentle lady and humble woman of God a happy 90th birthday. This is truly a special milestone. It is my hope as you share this joyous occasion with your family and friends that your day is full of fun, surprises, beauty, and grace. Being a non-octogenarian distinguishes you as a very special person. Your generation has so many stories to share and so much wisdom to pass along to friends and family. Wide-eyed grandchildren and great-grandchildren can listen to Nana share stories about her passion for politics, real estate, and the many accolades that you have received over the years. You see, Doc Kearns, the 90th birthday is a major milestone, and you should be celebrated in style. Where's that old hat you had? During the coming days as you travel around the world, please continue to celebrate, shop, advocate for public education, and don't forget that the best is yet to come. Thank you for helping so many people over the years, including me, to get elected to office. On behalf of the 12th Congressional District of North Carolina, I extend my very best wishes to a personal friend for many years ahead filled with happiness, health, wealth, and more success. Once again, happy 90th birthday. Sincerely, Alma Adams. And then one more. Oh, that's awesome. Well, this now is from Congresswoman Kathy Manning. So she says, Dear Dot, happy 90th birthday. I am wishing you a special day to honor all the wonderful accomplishments you have made and memories you have created during the past 90 years. Your passion for and commitment to strengthening our community is invaluable. Through your advocacy for public education, you have improved the lives of children across the Triad for decades. Your advocacy for public education is a testament to your selflessness and strength. From becoming the first woman to serve as a chairperson on the Guilford County Board of Commissioners, to your time on the Board of Education for High Point City Schools and Guilford County Schools, your service has brought great prosperity in our community. I hope you enjoy your 90th birthday. Sincerely yours, Kathy Manning.
Thank you for bringing both of those. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome, and I'll hand it to you.
I'm myself speechless.
Oh. Oh, okay. I don't know. There's something on the back. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. This is good. Sorry, I didn't see this. Okay. A flag. This is from Kathy Manning. A flag will also be flown over the United States Capitol in honor of Mrs. Kearns on June 27th, 2021, to celebrate her and her impact on the Piedmont Triad. And then they'll mail it to you after that, so you can. Yes.
Thank you all. I simply don't know anything to say except I'm proud of all of you. I'm particularly proud of this council. As I said, I never thought in my lifetime, and I was born on Washington Drive, and the Guilford, the hospital at that time was on Washington. I was born right in there 90 years ago. Isn't that amazing? But I have been so proud that particularly all of you in this council had the courage to run. And as some of you ran at large, some of you African-American council people ran at large, which was a matter of real courage, I thought. And you won handily. And we're so proud of all of you. And proud of this city, knowing that it is going to go forward. And I thank my good friend here who I went to Kernersville to be with many times when we were doing our regional project. And it's wonderful that he came to High Point and has served us so well here, and will continue to for a little while longer at least. And I don't know how many of you, I'm sure you all know it, but you may have forgotten, that we have a new city manager coming, and it is a she. Which is very forward-moving for High Point, I think. And she sounds like she'll be a wonderful manager. And I'm glad that you could find her and choose her.
Yes.
Well, thank you all for being here, and thank you so much. Elaine, thank you again. As I said, I thought that Elaine Marshall would probably be our first female governor, but instead she kept her post in that
it's great to be back among people and be able to do things like that.
Mayor Wagner, if I
Definitely.
could say, I think
Yes.
this is just an awesome thing. Doc Kearns, it's amazing what you contributed. All the words that have been said today, I think, are so reminiscent. And for me, as a young public official, we aspire to even have half of a resume of what you have done. As a former educator, it's impossible to have taught education here in this city and not know the great Doc Kearns. From the time that I've taught students in Kearns Academy, just the spirit of the school itself, I think replicates what it is that Doc Kearns means to our community.
Great job to get out there in the community. And one time when it looked as though our museum was going to be underfunded or not funded, and I called Michael and he answered his phone immediately. And I said, I didn't expect you to answer on the first ring. But he said, when I campaigned, I told people, if you'll elect me, I'll answer my phone every time you call.
I appreciate that. That's Michael, by the way. He's the guy who watches. But with that, I think of a quote that says, "What we do for ourselves dies with us, but what we do for others in the world is and remains immortal." And I think your legacy will continue to be immortal. It's seen reminiscent here in the state and county officials, Madam Secretary, Chairman Austin. We appreciate you both being here. The many family and friends who are here as well. We now have 2 back-to-back holiday weekends that we get to celebrate. Last week was Juneteenth and Father's Day, and next weekend I look forward to celebrating Kearns Day here in High Point. So thank you for everything you're doing, Dot. Seriously.
All right. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize we do have a couple of county commissioners here. County Commissioners, Chairman Skip Austin is here, and also Kay Cashin. Everybody. Yeah, I've known you forever, but I have a bad brain issue with names. So I'm sorry, I wasn't quicker on that. Am I missing anyone else? Did somebody else sneak in from the county commissioners? I don't see anybody else. But thank you so much for being here, coming over for this occasion. I do really, really appreciate that, and I know all of our council does as well. Okay, with that, we're going to continue with our agenda. The next item is our strategic plan update. For that, I'm going to start by recognizing, hold on, I've lost my place here. Councilmember Chris Williams is going to give us a Community Development Committee update.
Thank you, Mayor. You want me to give him a couple minutes? Okay. All right, thanks again, Mayor. I will start with a summary of the code enforcement activity for the month of May. The local code enforcement staff recorded 22 zoning complaints. A total of 324 public nuisance cases were abated, 112 city abated, and 212 owner abated. Due to the pandemic, the LCE staff did not work on Saturday during the month, but will resume in July. There are 6 properties with contracts out for demolition. There are 2 housing cases with an ordinance passed for demolition waiting for repairs to be completed. That's 337 Wingo and 216 Underhill. There are 4 properties with ordinance passed in the appeal period. Demolition bids will be requested when the appeal period is up. 2 inspector positions have been filled, thank goodness. 2 inspector positions are open and interviews are underway. During the report, there were during the report period, there were 481 total active cases, 231 active minimum housing cases, 142 active public nuisance cases, and 108 active zoning cases. Now we'll turn the floor over to Lori Lusman.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Just to give you an update. For the month of May, we've had, during the pandemic, we've had great success. I'm not sure why still, but with houses getting repaired, it's been a great thing. I hope it continues. So this is a case we'd actually had at 724 Arch. We started in December of 2016. It was not a demolition case. It was just a repair or vacate, so the house sat there. We couldn't bring it to you all for any ordinance or anything. The owners did, and it's not been sold, it's still the same owners, but in November of 2019, they came in and got repairs. They just completed the repairs around May. We did not have any previous pictures of what the house looked like. I pulled this off of Google, but this is what it looked like. It was boarded up and didn't look too great, but this is what it looks like now. So we're still having continued success and oops, I put the wrong picture, sorry, with getting houses repaired, which is really nice. And as Councilman alluded, we still have 2 more positions to fill for inspectors. So we're still trying to work hard though.
Thank you, Laura. That's all I have, Mayor.
Quick question for Laura. Laura, quick question. We hired 2 inspectors.
Yes.
Which is a good thing. When they come into that position, are they ready to hit the street, or do they require, what do they require?
Most people don't come into local codes having any minimum housing experience or code enforcement experience. So one, they just have to learn the ordinances, and we enforce so many different ordinances. I usually start off by training them on public nuisance, because that's kind of the quickest and the easiest. It's either in compliance or it's not. And then I start teaching about the vehicles and the disabled vehicles in the neighborhoods. Housing is usually the last thing I teach them, because has so many legal aspects of it. It can be overwhelming. It takes about 1.5 years to get an inspector up and running to really be on their own and do everything and get cases on their own.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll now recognize Councilmember Michael Holmes for an update on marketing and branding.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's good to be with you in this time zone. In May, the Strategic Marketing and Branding Task Force met. The primary item on the agenda was a report out from staff on the scope and breadth of a citywide campaign. It was a very detailed presentation by Ryan, and they gave us a recommendation that to pursue a citywide campaign, that an outside agency would be the recommended direction that we should go in to spearhead the campaign. We got a very in-depth account of what our capabilities are internally, and in the end, staff felt the direction with outside agency would be the way to go. So we took a vote on the task force to recommend that staff be able to begin the RFP process in search of an outside agency, and that vote passed unanimously to come to full council for us to provide authorization for staff to begin that process. So in that regard, I would like to make a motion, formal motion, for council to authorize staff to begin the RFP process for an external agency to direct our marketing and branding campaign.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion made by Councilman Holmes, and it has been seconded, I believe, by Councilman Jefferson. Is there any discussion on this item?
Was the budget impact discussed?
No. This is not an item that at this point has a budget. It was more of a fact-finding of what an agency would require for us to be able to commit to a campaign. So once the RFP process goes forward, then at that point, I think we then come back with the budgetary line item.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I would just suggest that we be cautious to make sure we're not duplicating any efforts that the visitor center is doing. It's very similar to the same branding. So any collaboration would be very helpful, I think.
We're definitely working with all of them, and they are part of the task force. So it would definitely be a collaborative effort without overlapping.
Anyone else? Okay, hearing no one, since we are still technically under our COVID rules, I still have to call the roll, so, even though we're all present, so, for those listening online. So, I'll begin by calling the roll. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson? Aye. Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
The mayor votes aye, so that item is approved by a vote of 9-0. Anything else, Councilman Holmes?
That's it.
All right. Next on the agenda is the public comment period. My note here says that we did not receive any public comments. Did we receive any today, Madam Clerk?
We have not.
Right before the meeting? Okay. The public comment period, if you would like to make a comment, you can do so by calling 336-883-3522 and leaving a message. You can also email written comments to publiccomment@highpointnc.gov, or you can drop off written comments at either of the utility payment boxes on either side of City Hall, both the Green Drive and Hamilton and Commerce Avenue parking lots. It's likely that we're probably going to go back to open meetings for our next meeting, which will be the second meeting in July 19th. So at that time, I anticipate that we'll have an actual live public comment period again. So, but if you'd like to make a comment between now and then, you can do it by one of those means that I announced. Next on the agenda is the Finance Committee items, and for that, I'll turn the meeting over to Mayor Pro Tem Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. We did meet at our regularly scheduled Thursday meeting. We have a consent agenda for council to consider, but there are a couple little amendments that need to be made. So let me scroll through here just a second and find, I'll draw your attention to item 2021-233. This property needs to be removed from the consent agenda as the owner has made contact with staff and they are working together to resolve the issues with this property. So I'd ask that item be removed. And the
Do we need to place that into pending? Maybe? No?
Sounds like just remove it from the agenda.
Okay, all right.
does that need a separate vote, or can it just be done by what I just did?
I think it's fine, like what you just did.
Yeah, I think you
That'd be
could.
part of your motion.
Hmm?
It could
Be
be
part
part
of
of
the
it.
motion.
His motion.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm scrolling here because I'm looking for the number to the other one. There it is. Item 2021-239, Attorney Carlisle has asked to speak to this item involving Leo Terra Ski Club.
Yes, sir. I'd just like to point out for the council that originally the reimbursement agreement that had been presented to the committee stated that the agreement would be with Leo Terra Ski Club LLC. Actually, the company, because that LLC is no longer is administratively dissolved at this time. So instead, the agreement will be with Leo Terra Development, Inc. All of the other terms continue, so I think it's appropriate for it to remain on the consent agenda. Just wanted to point out that there will be that change.
All right. So at this time, I would like to present our consent agenda with the amended items for 2021-233 and 2021-239 to full council with a favorable recommendation for approval.
Okay, there's a motion being made for approval of consent agenda items. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Jones. Is there any discussion? Okay. Sorry, making a couple notes. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye. So items are approved by a vote of 9-0. You have anything else?
That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
No, we still have a public hearing, I believe.
Oh, that's under mine, I'm sorry. Dot threw me off. But she's worth it. At this time, I would like to open a public hearing for item 2021-244. It's a public hearing concerning Key Risk, a Berkeley company, and some performance-based incentives. And at this time, I will turn it over to EDC President Sandy Dunbeck.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. I am Sandy Dunbeck, Director of High Point Economic Development, and I'm pleased to bring you this proposed downtown office project for High Point. This is the second project to be considered for the targeted downtown office incentives. The company is Key Risk, a specialist in workmen's compensation insurance and a W.R. Berkley company. Berkeley is a Fortune 500 company, and Key Risk is exactly the type of company we would like to have downtown, and their location would aid in the city's downtown redevelopment strategies. With us here tonight in council chambers are Brian Mook with Corporate Real Estate for W.R. Berkley and Becky Carr, Chief Operating Officer and Chief Financial Officer for Key Risk. The location and the building that the company is considering occupying is 275 North Elm Street, the currently under construction building known as the Outfields. No lease has been executed yet for this company and this space. The city's targeted downtown office policy covers the municipal service districts in which the Outfields building is located. After discussions with company officials started in March for our EDC office, we are recommending rental and upfit assistance to help in the early years of this potential project. Should the company pick High Point, they would lease 21,645 square foot of space for a period of 10 years and 6 months, with 2 5-year options to renew, and they would also have a team of people working in the 275 North Elm Street building. The positions at this location could include financial services professionals, leadership positions, claims, underwriting, risk management, marketing, and finance positions. So for this project, the High Point EDC staff recommends up to $1,175,540 in cash grant incentives should the company locate in downtown High Point. These incentives would be paid out over 4 years and are calculated based upon the rental assistance of 80, 60, 40, and 20% of base rent, and also includes $50,000 in initial upfit assistance. The source of that funding would be the city's Economic Development Incentive Fund, which is funded by general and electric revenues. Any such incentives would be subject to the company meeting the leasing and upfit requirements that will be spelled out in a performance agreement. The company expects to make a decision whether to choose this downtown High Point location within the next 30 days. I'll now turn the mic over to Brian Mook of Berkeley so that he can share more about the process, and then we will also hear from Becky Carr of Key Risk. Thank you, Brian.
Mayor Wagner, City Council members, it's wonderful to be with you here this evening. And before I start my comments, I would add that Sandy's been phenomenal to work with. She's been great to get us to this point. I would say, though, that I wish we would have been warned that we were following the Secretary and Dot. You know, that's kind of a high bar to clear at this point, but it was great seeing that and be able to be here for that. So, again, my name is Brian Mook. I'm with the corporate real estate area of W.R. Berkley Corporation. Really what you're here to hear tonight will come from Becky when she comes up. I think she's got some great information about Key Risk to present. I did want to share a little bit, though, just for a few minutes about our process to get here. Yes, we do have. You know, as Berkeley does exist as a rather large company, we're now, we were founded in '67, so we're a little bit over 50 years old. You can see we're 7,500 associates. We're in, well, I guess we had the number of countries up here, 21 unique countries. You know, the work of W.R. Berkeley itself follows through locally. They've been built on the idea of entrepreneurship. So as these companies have grown early through acquisition, they've largely been organic in nature after the fact. And so as we come down and are working with each individual operating unit like Key Risk, really decision-making is held locally. So as we come in, work with them on these engagements, ultimately they're going to decide where they want to be, whether it's wherever they might land. You know, the site selection process for us when we come in, we tend to throw a wide net. So in this case, that meant that Key Risk, as well as Berkeley and other companies, had locations even in Charlotte, so rather close by. So our effort starts very wide. It starts to narrow as we start to understand what the requirements are and what the opportunities are locally. We got down to roughly 4 viable choices around the area here, High Point being one of them. Some areas closer by where we're currently located as well. While the Elm Street location, the opportunity here, you know, it's very unique, obviously. It's got certainly a cool factor, kind of a wow factor associated with it. But you might imagine as a rather still conservative financial services company, that isn't always our first kind of obvious choice as we go out and look for places to be. So as we went through our due diligence, though, it became more and more apparent that this location might provide some opportunities that others did not. So, you know, as we go out, every choice has its pros and cons, and none of them are perfect. But eventually we settle on a decision that gets made on the sum of the parts as we consider them. So, you know, as it came down to the end, we're here in front of you today to discuss this because that sum total became more apparent for Key Risk, and this really is a location that they're interested in going to. As Sandy mentioned, we still have some process to go. We're still working on the leasing process. We don't have that finished yet. This is another key step in what we're doing, and it really has an opportunity to be a difference maker as we get to the end of the puzzle here. At that point, I think I would like to hand it over to Becky Carr to come up and talk a little bit about Key Risk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Good evening, Mayor Wagner and the members of the High Point City Council. I am so impressed with what I have seen here tonight. Just couldn't be more honored to have this opportunity to come talk to you about Key Risk. So I am Becky Carr. As you've heard, I am our Chief Operating and our Chief Financial Officer and joined 24 years ago. And I'm from the local triad. I graduated from UNC Greensboro. And I can say firsthand, I have seen High Point arrive at the place that we are today. And I'm very excited to see where it's going in the future. So this is awesome. Congratulations. We're very excited to be here. So Key Risk, we are a workers' compensation insurance company. So what does that mean? First of all, we provide workers' compensation insurance to employers. That has been our sole focus for 35 years. We work with employers to assist them in providing a safe place to work. And when an employee is injured or becomes sick from a work-related cause, we provide benefits, meaning medical care, lost time wages to that injured worker according to state regulations. So we have 151 associates with 81 of those working out of our headquarters in Guilford County and Greensboro. We write business both on a national basis and a regional basis, and we insure many different niches, everything from temporary staffing to human services, manufacturing, health care, schools, contractors, just to name a few. North Carolina is our largest premium volume state, and some of our North Carolina clients that we have up on the slide may be familiar. The Biltmore House, Goodwill Industries, Bojangles, Lexington Home Brands, K&W Cafeterias, and Simple Southern, just to mention a few. We are a client-focused organization. Our mission statement is to deliver innovative and responsive workers' compensation solutions that provide our clients the freedom to do what they do best. The pictures that we're going to show in these slides tonight, those are our associates. Those are where we were attending company-wide meetings. We bring all of our associates together, and that can go over several days, to be together in person, build upon relationships, and to learn and grow together. Our associates, I will say that workers' compensation is a very complex business to be in. Our success is driven by a team of financial service professionals with a passion to help people. As stated in Berkeley's annual report, insurance done right by a company of people who care. I can personally testify that that exemplifies who Key Risk is. Our roles that we have in our headquarters do include, as Sandy alluded to, leadership, claims, underwriting, risk management, marketing, customer service, finance, actuarial, premium audit. We have a very wide range. About 80 to 85% of those do require a college degree, and those also have a very wide range. Everything from risk management and insurance, marketing, accounting, finance, economics, criminal justice, even liberal arts. Generally, we have about 4 to 5 open positions at any point in time. You can see our current job postings from our website, keyrisk.com. You can also see them in LinkedIn and Indeed. All of our job postings utilize those services. Recent postings, just to give an example, includes a claim director, a claims business analyst, an actuarial analyst, claims and underwriting trainees, and a premium auditor. So that will give you a feel for the different types of positions that we have. One of the things we take great pride in is we have been winners of Best Places to Work for multiple years, as this slide indicates. This is a survey and awards program that is dedicated to identifying the best employers. We're very proud to have those credentials, and it's something that not only do we say it, we mean it. We want to be the best place to work. And obviously, we think this opportunity is going to go a long way to help with that. We look as if the bases are loaded. When we learned more about the vision of the City of High Point and the outfields, the alignment to our culture and work environment parallels what we were searching for. And it's not just 1 or 2 of those items, it's the full list. All of these have meaning or are very important to us. In particular, the work, live, and play. That really resonates with us. With the office and the food hall and the entertainment and the retail all within an easy walk, that offers our associates a good and convenient balance. Another thing very important is recruiting. We actively recruit college students for entry-level roles in claims and underwriting in particular. And I think this work environment, it would definitely be attractive to a lot of college graduates. We do have a great track record in working with Appalachian State. We've got a long-term relationship with them. And we're very excited to learn more about the opportunities that High Point University offers our educational environment. Client experience. We are a client-focused company. Our business is focused on creating a positive client experience. The uniqueness of this definitely will be a memorable item and something that we believe really will contribute to our client experience. Another item on the list that is near and dear to our heart, social responsibility. This is an area our team truly embraces. We have two nonprofit organizations in particular that I think will support and illustrate our wanting to give back. First of all, we give back to the workers' compensation industry by supporting Kids Chance. Kids Chance is a national organization that provides college tuition for children whose parents had catastrophic workers' compensation injuries. So we think it's just a full circle to be able to help those children further their education. We give back to the local community by supporting a simple gesture. For those of you who may not be aware, Bob Biggerstaff was the founder of Key Risk, and he's also a Guilford County resident. He wanted to help provide a solution to childhood hunger that is so huge, unfortunately, in our local communities. And he learned about a simple gesture. He knew that could make a difference, and he helped to start a local chapter here in the Triad to feed the children in our areas. They have served well over 1 million meals to children, and our team could just not be more proud to be part of an organization to make a difference in our community. We also value and focus on building long-term relationships with our clients, and that's using effective collaboration. It's a component of what our innovation behaviors are, and we see it as essential in really achieving long-term success. When you look at the cumulative effect of all of these items, that gives us the excitement that the bases are loaded. We believe the additional synergies that this may provide promotes the goals for all of us in achieving long-term successful growth. So we look at this, we build downtown joy. You can't franchise authenticity. That just really aligns with Key Risk. This opportunity sets the field for a home run. We are very inspired by the opportunity and to move our headquarters here to High Point. We would like to be on your team. We want to be a part of this exciting future in High Point. So we would like to thank you for allowing us to come this evening and share some information about Key Risk. And if there's, without any other questions, I just want to say good evening and thank you, and you all have definitely inspired us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Becky and Brian, for that presentation. Sandy, do you have anything else to add?
No, sir, we're glad to take any questions, if there are any.
Well, I just would like to say, extend a thank you for that presentation. I'm kind of partial to High Point, and I kind of think we're going to be the closest to perfect too. And the Doc Kearns moment that you saw is typical of the fabric and the character of this community. I can tell you that from living here my entire life. I think you'll find our staff, I know you've already found our EDC and this council to be partners in how to make things work, not to create obstacles. So I hope you will give us great consideration. Does anyone else have a comment or questions for these folks?
I just love how you use like home run bases are loaded and part of the team. And so, yeah, let's hit a home run for sure and win. Let's win.
Okay.
I'd like to say one thing.
Sure, please.
One of the things that's really vital to our overall strategy for our downtown and for our revitalization is we've got to get people working downtown again, and large numbers of people working downtown again. And so from the beginning of our building of the stadium, of the selling the vision and getting the public support of the community to build it, and to partner with Tim Elliott to begin construction of 275 North Elm, and what we've seen at Condon Yards, and everything that's happening downtown, and the downtown joy that we're trying to create. We need pioneers. We need someone to come downtown and be a part of what we're doing. And I would love for you to be one of those pioneers, and I certainly hope that you will. It's important that we have people working downtown, and some of those folks are probably going to want to live downtown, and that's coming soon. We're starting to get enough going on downtown where you can make an evening of it. You can see a ball game. You can eat in a restaurant. You can hit a couple of breweries if you want, and so things are coming around, and I hope that you will choose to be one of those pioneers for us to really help take things to another level. So that's all I have. I think you've got a great company. Sounds like you are exactly the type of corporate citizen that we want in High Point. A lot of companies make grand pronouncements about being a good corporate citizen, but a lot of them don't live up to it. And it sounds to me like you certainly will, given what your company does for charities, and it sounds like your corporate culture will fit right in. So I do hope that you'll consider our city favorably.
I was just going to add a note of thank you. We do a lot of this across the country, and we put you up as a process and engagement communication with anybody that we've worked with right out of the gate. So it's been fantastic. I couldn't make the first meeting, but a lot of accolades for how you've operated for us. And again, I think the biggest thing for us in decision making is getting all the information, the right information on time when we need it, and you've been phenomenal with that. So a note of thanks for that as well.
Thank you.
I'd like to add that it really, really impresses me that you all, number one, support a simple gesture, but number two, would make that part of a presentation to say this is important to us. I really appreciate that. Thank you all for that commitment.
Anything else?
I'll just undergird what Chairman Moore said around partnership. I don't think there's a better time to be in this city. In my short amount of time being here since youth, I've seen the city grow. I've seen it foster all types of new things. And I think that where we are right now is anyone who comes along to be a part of that process, I think they find that it's a worthwhile investment. And so excited about Key Risk and looking forward to future conversations.
Thank you, Councilman Jefferson. This public hearing will remain open because we are under COVID rules, and we will bring this up for consideration at our recess meeting on Wednesday. And that now, and I did not intend to overlook you. So, very, very important. And I think that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay.
You want to correct me on that?
No, I'll stay with you on this one.
All right, I'm done.
All right, next I'd like to recognize Councilmember Hudson for an update on the Prosperity and Livability Committee.
Our regular, thank you, Mr. Mayor, our regular meeting was moved until this Wednesday because of furniture market.
Okay.
So we will have an update at our next meeting for you. That's
All right.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Your update is that we're going to have an update.
We will have an update. I'm confident.
Excellent. All right, so now we'll go to the Community Development Committee items, and for that I'll recognize Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item up is 2021-251 ordinance demolition of dwelling at 401 Cedar Street, adoption ordinance. I will turn the floor over to Lori.
Sorry. Good morning, good evening, again, Mayor and City Council. The first case we have tonight is 401 Cedar Street. We had originally inspected this property in November of 2017. It was an old case, a case from the old software that we had. We held a hearing on November 12th of 2020. No one appeared for the hearing. We issued an order to repair or demolish on November 20th of 2020 with a compliance date of December 29th of 2020. The property has not been repaired, has not been demolished either. The inspector did speak with Loretta Barino on November 12th of 2020, who stated she was an heir to Riley and Effie McDonald and Burt Rucker, and the inspector explained what the situation was with the property. And Ms. Barino said that she would call the inspector back following week to advise that she was interested in repairing the house. I then spoke with the son of Burt Rucker, Ron Rucker, on March 1st of 2021, and he stated that his dad was not part owner of the property, and that his dad was not on the deed, and his attorney advised him he didn't need to do anything with the property. I just explained to him legally. He showed up on our information. We had to notify him regardless of what their thoughts were, that we had to do that. And the property taxes are delinquent in the amount of $13,515.65 for the years of 2007, 2008, 2011 through 2020.
Thank you, Laura. For the sake of the record, I'll ask the clerk, have we received anything from the public for or against this item?
We have not received any comments.
All right, thank you. In that case, I make the motion to approve item 2021-251, ordinance demolition of dwelling 401 Cedar Street.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Was that you, Councilman Jones? Okay. Motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Okay. Hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore? Aye. Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye. That item is approved by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. The next item up is 2021-252, ordinance demolition of dwelling 1113 Springview Drive. I'll turn the floor over to Lori again.
We received a complaint from the neighbor on this property, so we went out to check into it. We did an inspection on March 15th of 2019. We held a hearing on March 8th of 2019. No one appeared for the hearing. An order to repair or demolish was issued on October 21st of 2020 with a compliance date of November 23rd of 2020. And to date, nothing's happened to the property. They are delinquent in property taxes in the amount of $5,774.30 for 2007 through 2020.
All right. Thank you, Laura. For the sake of the record, I'll ask the clerk again, have we received any information from the public for or against this item?
We have not received any comments.
Thank you. In that case, I make the motion to approve item 2021-252, ordinance demolition of dwelling 1113 Springview Drive.
There's a motion and a second by Councilman Hudson. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. Item's approved by a vote of 9-0.
All right. Next item is 2021-253, ordinance demolition of dwelling 1116 Russell Avenue. Lori?
We originally inspected this property on October the 7th of 2016. We held a hearing on December 17th of 2020. This is Air Properties. We had to advertise it in the paper. No one appeared for the hearing. An order to repair or demolish was issued on March 4th of 2021 with a compliance date of April 7th of 2021. Someone representing the heirs did call the inspector about 2 hours after the hearing that was held on December 17th of 2020. They advised that the heirs were not in the financial state to pay off the liens and bring the property into compliance. And then we have been contacted a few times since the beginning of this year by possible buyers and the heirs asking about time to make repairs. They were advised of the process, and to date, the property has not been sold, nor have the repairs begun. They are delinquent in property taxes in the amount of $10,334.33 for the tax years of 2013 through 2020.
Thank you, Laura. Finally, I'll ask the clerk again, have we received any comments on this for or against this item?
We have not received any comments.
Thank you, Lisa. So I'll make the motion to approve item 2021-253 ordinance, demolition of dwelling 1116 Russell Avenue.
Second, Jefferson.
Okay. Seconded by Councilman Jefferson. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore? Aye. Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones? Aye. Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye. Item is approved by a vote of 9-0.
All right, the next item is item 2021-254, public hearing on a sustainable amendment to the 2019-20 action plan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
This is Michael McNair. What I'm asking or presenting to you tonight is we have a second allocation of CDBG funding from the CARES Act that we would like to request your approval to amend our action plan and allocate the funds for further use. And just for a little background, this funding was in the amount of $588,651. The city was first notified of it in September of 2020. However, at the time, we had just released the contracts from the first allocation of CARES funds. So we opted to delay recommending projects so we could observe the spend rate of the first allocation, and then we would allow us to identify a project to present to you later. If you'll recall, also we had discussed with you a couple times that we were looking at doing a public facility project that would be in the arena or the area of homeless services. So now we have this amendment that proposes to fund a public facility project that will result in the development of a homeless day center. CDBG CV3 funding that we'll receive can help secure site control, and after other funding sources are identified, be utilized as available to assist with upfits or repairs. The city has already submitted a couple of applications, earmark applications for funding for this purpose. However, that funding probably will not become available until November-ish or so. This funding would be available to us now, so that if we were able to identify a site, we could kind of get site control fairly early on and hold the project down while everything else comes into focus. Excuse me. Public facility grants or programs have a variety of activities that you can do. Obviously, a day center, you can have emergency shelter, you can provide on-site support services and resources, restroom, showers, laundry facilities, a whole plethora of activities for homeless individuals. This, of course, is grounded in the idea of providing social distancing and responding to the pandemic. Additionally, we anticipate that the day center site should be able to, if we get one of sufficient size, accommodate a tiny homes village to provide permanent housing for the homeless in future phases. HUD has stated publicly already that they really want to see more permanent housing for the homeless, and there's actually an allocation in the ARP that the city will receive for that purpose in home funds. But we we have additional information from that as well. So that's sort of an overview of that. We would like to staff request that council will approve the amendment to the action plan to allow these funds to be programmed and allocated and put to use. And we have met the citizen participation requirements as required by HUD. And as I mentioned earlier, the amount is $588,651. And I stand ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mike. I would like to officially open the public hearing portion of this and if you're interested in sending in a public comment to this item, you can do so do it by the methods mentioned earlier by the mayor. This will carry over until our Wednesday recess meeting on the 23rd at 5:30. And that is all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the planning and development items. The first item is the adoption of findings of fact and conclusions of law for a special use case 21-01. I believe that was the Piedmont School property up there on, Herb, help me out. I just want to make sure everybody knows what we're voting on.
That was for the Phoenix Academy.
Phoenix Academy,
The
yeah.
expansion of their school off of Climate Farms
Not
Road.
Piedmont School, Phoenix
And
Academy.
that was reviewed at your May 17th. You had a quasi-judicial hearing, and council adopted it on May 19th. Because that was a quasi-judicial proceeding, the findings of facts and conclusion of law is required for your consideration that outlines the findings and the evidence submitted at that meeting, and you offer this document for your consideration.
Okay. All right, that item has been in our packet, and hopefully everyone's had a chance to look at it. As a lawyer, I'll tell you that reading findings and facts and conclusions of law is a thrilling experience. But it is a very important one for special use permit purposes. So with that, I will make the motion to approve the adoption of the findings of fact and conclusions of law. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Hudson. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye, so that item's approved by a vote of 9-0. All right, next, we have zoning map amendment 21-07, item 2021-256, Classic Dye Stuff Incorporated.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. Herb Shannon, Senior Planner with the Planning and Development Department. And your first item is zoning map amendment 21-01. This is a request to rezone approximately 3.4 acres from the current light industrial district to a conditional zoning heavy industrial district. This site is located east of the intersection of Brentwood Street and Gavin Drive and west of the northern terminus of New Street. The applicant operates an existing minor manufacturing facility at 301 Brentwood Street, and that is this area that is zoned heavy industrial right there, and that's directly abutting, the zoning site abuts the rear and south of that site. Classic Dye Stuff processes dyes, pigment dispersants, hand sanitizers, and disinfectant chemicals, and they do specialized packaging of their products in different size containers. The existing operation at 301 Brentwood Street is classified as a minor manufacturing facility by the Development Ordinance, which is a permitted use in both the light industrial and heavy industrial district. They have requested rezoning of these abutting parcels to the rear and south of their existing facility for a proposed expansion. They've included with this application a conditional zoning ordinance in which they have offered conditions to limit allowable heavy industrial uses and for development to meet the light industrial district standards. The Planning and Development Department has classified the current use of their property as minor manufacturing. Included in the back of your package is a letter from the applicant outlining their existing uses and the proposed uses of their expansion. and we have classified their existing use and the proposed expansion as a minor manufacturing use, which is allowable under the current light industrial district. The applicant has expressed concern that future planning staff may interpret their proposed land use differently and consider a major manufacturing use, which is only permitted in the heavy industrial district. Therefore, they have submitted this rezoning application to rezone land to the rear and south of their existing facility to a conditional zoning heavy industrial district to allow major manufacturing activities. They've also noted in their conditional zoning ordinance that they desire to allow toxic chemical substance, pesticides, and fertilizer use type, which is a specific use type in the development ordinance. They have noted that because they may be using some materials which the FDA deemed as toxic in their processing process. Staff has noted that simply using those materials doesn't mean you fall underneath those categories. You're not actively making those products on your site. You're just using that as part of your processing. So that doesn't specifically make you fall under that use category. This zoning site is part of a larger area lying along the east side of Brentwood Street that is classified by the land use plan as light industrial. This is a map of the land use plan of that area. The zoning sites are identified. Those areas highlighted in that pinkish color first, let me just note, this is from the adopted land use plan. Those areas highlighted in that pinkish color are classified by the land use plan as light industrial. So you can see those lands from East Martin Luther King Jr. Drive southward to Wade Place are all designated as light industrial. And all of this area, except for the existing facility at 301 Brentwood Street, has a light industrial zoning. Lands along the opposite side of this segment of Brentwood consist of low-density residential and medium-density residential, and that area is developed with a mixture of single-family homes and multifamily development. Due to the long-established land use pattern of this area, the expansion of the HR district uses in this area is not supported by the land use policies for this portion of the city. Based upon the applicant's submittal, I'm just going to briefly go over the outline of the analysis and the findings in the staff report. As far as compatibility with the surrounding area, the applicant has offered conditions to only allow 2 heavy industrial uses, major manufacturing and the wholesale trade of toxic chemicals, substances, pesticides, and fertilizers. To address compatibility with the surrounding uses, the applicants offer a condition that development meet the LI district standards, and this requires outdoor storage area be screened from view from adjacent lots and public streets and prohibits any outdoor manufacturing or processing. Another of the findings that staff evaluated was minimization or identifying or minimizing any adverse impact on adjacent land values. The land use plan and zoning patterns support light industrial zoning and uses on those areas east of this portion of Brentwood Street. The request for a conditional zoning heavy industrial district allows heavy industrial uses that may be large scale and have extensive movement of vehicles, materials, and goods, and greater potential for adverse environmental and visual impacts on nearby residents. And there have been no changes in land use policy to support these uses in this area. Finally, I will refer you to goal number 2 and goal number 5 of the land use plan, which speaks to promoting an urban growth pattern that occurs in an orderly fashion and encourage development that enhances and preserves established neighborhoods. As condition, the requested expansion of HI district uses in this area designated by the land use plan as light industrial does not promote an orderly growth pattern or adequately protect adjacent neighborhoods. Approval could encourage additional heavy industrial uses in this area. Therefore, the Planning and Development Department is recommending denial of this request. At their May public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this request and recommended denial by a vote of 7-0. The Commission stated that the request is not consistent with adopted policy guidance because a goal of the land use plan is to encourage development that enhances and preserve established neighborhoods, and major manufacturing and wholesale of toxic chemicals as allowed by the requested conditional zoning HI district does not enhance or protect the adjacent neighborhood, Such uses should not be allowed within the proximity of nearby residential uses without adequate protection. The commission also stated that the request is not reasonable because the zoning is not necessary to allow the proposed expansion. I would point out to the commission because, to the city council, because the Planning and Zoning Commission is forwarding this to you with a recommendation of denial, it would require a 2/3 majority vote of the council members present to approve this request. That is a brief summary of this application. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
Herb, I got a quick question. Could you state again the conditions that were offered by the applicant? I think you mentioned screening and conditions limiting the use to two types of.
Yes. In their conditional zoning ordinance, they've offered a condition, it notes HI district uses, but they've noted all the principal uses authorized, or excuse me, they noted any principal use of the heavy industrial district as listed that is also permitted in the LI district. Mainly, you can only do those HI districts that are allowed in the light industrial district.
Okay.
They've offered a condition to allow 2 HI district uses, major manufacturing and the toxic chemicals, substances, pesticides, and fertilizer use.
Okay, so those would not be allowed in LI?
They would be allowed under their conditional zoning ordinance, and they've offered a condition that development of the site meet the LI district standards, which requires screening of any outdoor storage area and prohibits any type of outdoor processing.
Okay, so just to make sure that I'm clear in my head, those 2 types of manufacturing that they've agreed to limit to, are those considered HI uses or are they considered LI uses?
Based upon, well, the two items, based upon the description that the applicants provided of their existing use and the proposed expansion, staff has classified those as minor manufacturing uses,
Yes.
which are permitted in the LI district, so rezoning is not required.
Okay.
The 2 uses that they've proposed, the major manufacturing and the fertilizer use, those are only permitted in the heavy industrial district.
Okay, all right.
But those two are those processes that they are currently using, or is that where they're concerned? You had mentioned of changing of, in the future, maybe personnel and stuff. And
That is where the applicant has concerns with staff's interpretation. Under the new development ordinance, you're not just looking at a list and picking your use. We look at how do you operate. If there is no odors, there's no vibration, there's no smoke, there's no noise, those activities do not leave your property. In this situation, they've noted all those activities will stay on site. Staff will consider that a minor manufacturing use. So it's not just looking at a list and a table and say, I'm this, I'm this. We're looking at specifically how you're operating. And if you're an industrial use, you drive by, you can't smell any odors, you can't hear anything, you don't really know what's going on inside. Based upon the way you're operating, we would consider you a minor manufacturing. Based upon the description the applicant gave us of their existing operation and how they wish to expand, staff has determined that they are a minor manufacturing use, which is permitted under the LI district.
And if their business operations change to meet the economy, and they change the type of operations that they're doing, they can come back and reapply for heavy industrial zoning.
That is correct.
Describe what they're doing at that point.
Yes.
Did staff have any concern or, not concern, in the evaluation of seeing that across the highway you have HI that butts up to an R5 subdivision?
We did look at the zoning pattern in that area. That HI on the opposite side of I-74 was from the previous development ordinance that is historically in place, and it's there. We were looking specifically at this request, how they are operating now and how they wish to expand. Okay. And because the manner in which they've noted they wish to expand meets the light industrial zoning district, that was the primary concern the staff had, that at this time they do not need to rezone because they can do their proposed use in the current zoning district.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if it's appropriate at this time, but
Yeah, anyone else with questions for staff?
well, I'd just like to make a motion that this be tabled, that this be removed. The representative from the applicant is here. They'd like more time to work on matching these conditions.
Okay, there's a motion.
Second that.
Okay, there's a motion made to,
I want to make sure, if you want to hear from the representative.
yeah,
Make sure that.
table this item, and then seconded, I believe, Councilman Jones was the second on that. So there is a pending motion on the floor to continue this item.
Yes, specifically, it would need to be continued, and you would need to note a date certain, so you wouldn't have to re-advertise.
That's right.
And I believe the applicant, if they have a specific date, that would be the appropriate time to note that.
Mr. Alderman, do you have a specific date you'd like us to continue this to?
Mr. Mayor, we discussed Mr. Shannon earlier today to your August 2nd meeting.
Is that okay with you, Councilman Hudson? And Councilman Jones, you're fine with that as well?
Yes.
All right, so the motion is to continue this item until the August 2nd meeting. Mr. Alderman, you are the representative of the applicant. Would you like to be heard on the motion, or, because it sounds like if there's additional discussions, you may not want to be heard on the actual case right now, but I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to update council members, we're continuing to have discussion with planning staff in response to their comments and the feedback that came out of our meeting with the Planning and Zoning Commission. We've had dialogue in recent days with proposed revisions to our conditions, so we'd like to allow additional time for that to be reviewed and for discussion to occur before we come back to you, potentially with further revisions to our conditions. So that's the basis for the request for additional time.
Anyone with any questions for the applicant's attorney?
Is that adequate time, August? Is that an adequate amount of time?
We believe that it is. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone with any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Councilman Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson? Okay, and the mayor votes aye. So that item is continued to the August 2nd meeting by a vote of 9-0. Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is item 2021-257, zoning map amendment 2109. This is John Rittner. It is a item to rezone approximately 51 acres from a conditional use planned development mixed district to a planned development core city district. This site is located on Westchester Drive, approximately 1,500 feet south of Phillips Avenue and north of Whittier Avenue. This is the old Westchester Mall site.
Yes, sir. The site's approximately 51 acres. It is that old mall. This former mall and its commercial outparcels were developed in the late 1960s. The applicant's requesting to rezone this from the current conditional use planned development mixed district to the planned development core city district. The current planned development mixed district was established in 1998, and there have been two amendments, one in 2003 and 2006, to expand allowable uses. The applicant has requested to rezone to update this previous established planned development district to allow a minor manufacturing use. With the adoption of the current development ordinance in 2017, the former planned development mixed district no longer exists as an available zoning district. Any properties that currently have that zoning designation is considered vested, and they can continue to operate. However, any expansion of uses would require rezoning. And because this site is within the core city area, the applicants requested rezoning to the planned development core city district. Under this zoning request, the various uses and development standards of the current conditional use planned development mixed districts are being carried forward into this new district. The only changes are updating terminology to match the current language of the development ordinance, adding the applicant's proposed use of minor manufacturing with the condition that such uses are limited to a maximum area of 5,000 square feet per establishment, and all activities must occur within the structure. And we're also removing a use that had the outdoor storage and repair of golf carts, as that establishment no longer is operating on the site, has not operated for several years. Key items to note from the staff report: as far as compatibility, this zoning does not change any of the previous findings of compatibility used to establish a planned development on this site. The site is, adjacent residential areas to the west are protected by the non-residential uses along the west side of Westchester Drive, which is a 5-lane major thoroughfare. The site abuts a shopping center to the north, a park and a cemetery to the east. And to the south, the southern half of this development is an assisted living facility and nursing home, which is a compatible use to the residential neighborhoods to the south. The one new use being added, minor manufacturing, as I previously noted, is limited to 5,000 square feet per establishment. All activities must occur within the structure. And to mitigate any adverse impacts, there are no changes to the vehicle access requirements, and the use with all activities being within that enclosed structure. There would be no creation of noise, vibration, or impacts to adjacent property owners. Finally, I would note that as conditioned, this zoning request will continue to promote the long-standing mixed-use development pattern of the zoning site. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of this zoning request. At the May public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this request and recommended approval by a vote of 7-0. The Commission stated that the request is consistent with adopted policy guidance because, as conditioned, the requested PDCC district does not conflict with the institutional land use designation of the area or with adopted policy guidance. They also stated that the request is reasonable and in the public interest because the request is to update the old planned development district to a new planned development CC district and add one small-scale use type to allowable uses in this mixed-use development. That is a brief summary of this request. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
Anyone? Is Mr. Rittner?
I believe he had a conflict out of state, but I believe he is available remotely.
Okay.
And he did
Yes,
submit a letter.
hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. I knew you submitted a letter, Mr. Rittner, but I'm glad you're with us, at least remotely. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you everyone for allowing me to join remotely. I apologize I'm not able to be there in person. So my request, I grew up in High Point and I went to culinary school at GTCC in Jamestown, and 5 years ago I moved out to Missoula, Montana, and last year my brother and I started a small business. We cook, prepare, and freeze dry and package freeze-dried meals for like camping, hiking, things like that. And earlier this year, my wife and I decided to move back to our hometown of High Point. And with that came our business. Just because we have 2 small boys under 3 now, we wanted to raise our kids around family. So we moved our business into the old Providence Place Mall in the restaurant space that used to be Canterbury's Restaurant. I'm not sure if anyone remembers it. The space has been empty for 12 years now. And so we rent the kitchen portion of the space. The owners blocked off the kitchen from the dining room. So we just rent the kitchen, which is 3,200 square feet, which is huge for us. But we're hoping to grow into the space. Currently, we just sell our meals directly to the consumer with retail sales, but we're hoping to grow our business into the wholesale aspect so we can sell through like mom and pop sporting goods stores here and there and stuff like that. And to add that wholesale aspect of the business, it is considered a minor manufacturing operation. So the reason for this whole rezoning request is so that our business will be able to grow and sell food wholesale under that minor manufacturing. So that's the reason for this whole request, and we really, really appreciate you guys taking the time to look it over.
Anyone have any questions for the applicant?
I have a comment, if I may. Hey, John, it's Monica Peters. I'm so glad you're with us remote. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to staff. I've met with John, you know, it's in Ward 3, Canterbury's Restaurant, and staff has been so helpful. I introduced John to Sandy Dunbeck with Economic Development too. She called him a boomeranger, which is kind of what we want, people that have left High Point and are moving back. So, you know, he's a young entrepreneur, married with 2 kids, that kind of fits in the fabric of what we're creating. And his food is, you know, high end, it's really cool. And John, we are so grateful that you're coming back to High Point. Now, we want to see you at a Rockers game.
Yeah, we're really excited to be back in High Point, and it's really cool to see the growing community of small businesses in the area, and we're just excited to be a part of it.
John, this is Councilman Holmes. Thank you for coming home, I guess I should say.
Thanks.
Could you give us a little insight into your outlook on the growth of your business? What, from forecasting, do you see as in terms of possibly growing into the capacity that you expect to have to meet the minor manufacturing rezoning?
Yes, sir. So right now, the only employees are my brother and I do all the cooking and the whole production and shipping side from our facility. And I didn't mention this, we don't have a storefront, so all of our sales are done online. So all of our local neighbors, most of them don't even know that we're in there, besides that it smells good from time to time and the people I've talked to out front. But as far as growth, our hope is over the next couple of years, we continue to expand. Like I said, our kitchen is way too big for us right now. Even just at 3,200 square feet, we're a very small operation. So we hope to grow to add a couple employees, maybe 2 to 5, and that amount of space and that amount of help would grow our business to the size that would be sustainable and would really, you know, work really well for us. Obviously, we don't know, like 10 years down the road, if we ever become a big company and get in stores like REI and, you know, things like that. That would be well down the road and probably a different location. But this location right here, we feel like we can really grow into over the next years to come. And we don't feel like it would be a negative impact to anyone around us because we don't have, you know, trucks coming here and there all the time. We just have one food delivery truck, and then we drop our packages off at the post office. So that's pretty much the extent of, you know, our impact and our growth in that area.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
This is Councilman Moore. What's your website?
Our website is pinnaclefoods.co.
Thank you.
Everybody get that?
You're welcome.
Or place your orders.
Yeah, check us out.
Yeah, John, because Councilmember Moore is an outdoorsman.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we take a lot of pride in our meals, and like I said, we just started last year, so we're just getting our feet off the ground, and we're really excited to be planted here in High Point.
Excellent. Anyone else with anything for the applicant? Okay, this item will stay open. The public hearing will stay open on this item for until Wednesday, June 23rd at 5:30, wherein the council may choose to take action. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next item on the agenda is item 2021-258, Hunter Farms zoning map amendment 21-10.
Yes, this is a request to rezone a 0.9 acre tract of land located east of North Main Street at the southwest corner of Irbywood Drive and Montgomery Street. If you're familiar with this northern portion of North Main Street, is right behind the O'Reilly Auto Parts store. The applicants, this site is part of the larger Hunter Farms manufacturing facility that fronts along North Main Street. The applicants requesting to rezone this area from its current conditional use general business district and R5 district to a conditional zoning office institutional district to allow expansion of their existing employee parking lot. Tax records note that this manufacturing facility also known as the Harris Teeter Creamery, was built in 1946. In this northern portion of the zoning site where it has a conditional use GB district zoning, that was established in 1998 when that area was rezoned for their initial expansion of employee parking lot. The southern portion of the site, which lies between their existing parking lot and O'Reilly's Auto Park, that is currently zoned R5. It was previously developed with a single-family home. That home has since been demolished, and the applicant desires to expand their employee parking to include this area, so they're rezoning their existing employee parking in this area all to the CZOI district. They've included with their application a zoning map amendment or conditional zoning ordinance in which they've offered conditions to prohibit minor retail sales use, to preserve existing perimeter vegetation, and to screen the parking and to restrict access. Key points from the staff analysis: based on the site's limited land area and the conditions offered, allowable uses will be of a limited scale and intensity, and the proposed expansion of the employee parking lot will continue the previous established conditions for screening of the parking lot and preserving existing landscaping. They've also offered a condition to relocate their existing access point. Currently, access to this employee parking lot is from Montgomery Street. They've proposed to remove that, and just to note where that is at on the site. Whoops. I think I may have clicked the wrong button. Sorry about that. Montgomery Street is right here to the north. There's currently an access point there. The applicant's proposing to remove that access and place along Irbywood so that traffic from their facility is not intruding as far into the residential neighborhood. I would also note this is the last non-residential zone parcel in this area. Over the years, this area has slowly transitioned from residential to the manufacturing facility. You had the rezoning in 1998. In 2008, most of Montgomery Street was abandoned and rezoning occurred and was approved west of it for expansion of the facility. That's where the truck parking. So this continues the conversion of this area, this block between Irbywood and East Dayton Avenue, and rezoning the last non-residential zone parcel in that block. Staff is recommending approval of this request, and at their May public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval, and they adopted a statement that the request is consistent with adopted policy guidance because the requested conditional zoning district provides a transition between the manufacturing use and adjacent residents. The Planning and Zoning Commission also stated that the request is reasonable and in the public interest because the requested rezoning change includes the last residentially zoned parcel in this block, downzones the commercial zone portion of the site to a district that provides a better protection to the adjoining neighborhood. That is a brief summary of this request. Are there any questions of staff at this time? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Okay, we'll now hear from the applicant or applicant's representative.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Sam Lasine. I'm an attorney representing Hunter Farms, and I don't have anything to add to staff's comments. Just ask if council members have any questions for Hunter Farms.
Anyone have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
for taking the time to be here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, as we have been doing, this item will be open for public comment for a period of 24 hours, and the council may take action on it at our meeting Wednesday, June 23rd at 5:30. Next on the agenda is item 2021-259, City of High Point Zoning Map Amendment 21-11.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is a request by the City of High Point to rezone 91 properties totaling about 25 acres as part of the city's comprehensive zoning map amendment project. The purpose of the comprehensive zoning map amendment project is to review and evaluate zoning throughout the city. This project started in 2017, and we're systematically going throughout the city, evaluating the zoning and identifying areas where zoning is out of sync with the existing use of land or inconsistent with current land use policy, and proposing changes in zoning for those areas. The two areas we have for your consideration this evening are two residential subdivisions in the central part of the city, just north of East Lexington Avenue. There is the Arbor subdivision off of Geyer Street and the Ashton Woods subdivision. As far as the Ashton Woods subdivision, that project received zoning approval in the early 1980s. I believe that was in 1983. It consists of 20 townhome units and one single-family dwelling. The current zoning is conditional use residential multifamily 16. Staff is recommending rezoning to the residential multifamily 16 district. This is removing of those zoning conditions that were established in 1983. Those conditions have been met. So it's with those items being met, we're just recommending that the CU designation be removed and it just be rezoned to the RM16 district. Doesn't change the uses out there. Staff has received about 40 phone calls from the neighbors. Their primary concern is this a new development. Once staff explained to them that this doesn't change the use of the property, it's just removing those conditions that have been met, there were no objections. The second part of the request is the Ashton Woods subdivision, which is lying north of the intersection of Stony Brook, and it excludes the northern terminuses of Wickham Avenue. This is a single-family subdivision that attained zoning approval in 1984. Staff is recommending this area be rezoned from conditional use residential single-family 5 to the R5 district, and there's also a small portion of this area that is zoned as residential multifamily. Staff is recommending that portion of the site also be rezoned to the R5 district. There were specific conditions on density that were met once this subdivision was completed. Now that conditions have been met, staff is just recommending removal of that conditional use designation that you see lying on this area. It also includes land area at 1935 Wickham Avenue that as part of the subdivision approval was donated to the city for the Greenway area. So staff is recommending that area be rezoned from conditional use R5 to R5. Does not change the uses in this area. It will remain a single-family subdivision. The portion of this request that is multifamily is at the northern terminus of Wickham Avenue. There are two parcels, 2106 and 2108 Wickham Avenue. Those lots range in size from 7,000 to 9,000 square feet. They have developed with two single-family homes. So due to the limited size of those parcels, you really can't do a multifamily on such a small parcel. And the fact that they developed as single-family homes, staff is recommending they be rezoned from the residential multifamily 16 district to the R5 district. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this request at their May public hearing and recommended approval by a vote of 7-0. The commission stated that the request is consistent with adopted policy guidance because the proposed zoning map amendments are supported by the low-density residential designation of this area as contained in the adopted land use plan. And they also stated that the request is reasonable in the public interest because these amendments are needed to remove unneeded restrictions on the properties and to remove the conditional use zoning district, which cannot be amended. That is a brief summary of this request. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
Anyone? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shannon. We are the applicant, so we've heard from ourselves on this. The item will be held open for comment for a period of 24 hours, and council may take action on it at our 5:30 meeting on Wednesday. That's it for the planning and development items. Our general business agenda. The first item is 2021-260, which is the reopening of public meetings. This is just a resolution that says that now that the governor has lifted COVID restrictions, that we are going to be able to open our meetings to the public and resume our meetings as we did prior to the pandemic. So,
Motion to approve.
motion has been made to approve by Councilman Hudson, seconded by Councilman Jones. I am very excited to support this motion. That's right, that's right. So is there anyone who has any comments other than hallelujahs? Okay. Is Councilman Jefferson coming back?
Yeah.
We did, okay. All right, well, I'm going to call the vote. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore? Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
The mayor's going to vote aye, and Councilman Jefferson hasn't been excused, so he's an aye too. So that motion is approved by a vote of 9-0. Next is a resolution regarding the Rays Greenway grant that we got a briefing on during our manager's briefing today, but the assistant manager, Greg Ferguson, is going to do a little presentation on it.
So just as an overview, that grant is still being formulated and worked on. It goes from Armstrong Park to Elm, all the way down in the southwest quadrant of town, so the Southwest Greenway phases 1, 2, and 3. It's around an $18 to $20 million grant. NCDOT has picked it up and adopted it as a project, and they're going to be submitting that on behalf of the city, so it does actually help our chances. The city match, or city contribution that we can count is $4 million, so that's been proposed. There will be some associated utility work that may not be able to be counted that will be part of the project as well, but we're still in discussions with NCDOT about what we can actually count and that will be recognized. So I'll be happy to take any questions. This will be a multimodal path. It'll be something that we don't have to connect the northern greenway that's in existence to little pieces in the southwest, and then really expand the southwest.
Greg, this is Councilman Moore. So the sidelines keep moving still as to what we can do and can't do. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, so we evaluate each of these grant opportunities as they come out and try to align the city goals and projects with those that have the best chances of being funded.
Right.
Each of the pots of money have different target amounts. So in the case of the earmarked process earlier this year, it was around $2 to $3 to $4 million that could be targeted for a project. This is transportation, so it's Rays grant build, which you would call it previously. We're interestingly enough in the rural designation, so we don't have to hit a minimum amount. So we started out much higher, and we had a project that included the railroad esplanade. What has to be done on this project, though, is a new cost-benefit analysis. NCDOT is doing that. They're paying for it. So we didn't feel like that one was far enough along in the project development to be able to be ready by July 12th. So that one got dropped. By dropping that piece of this particular project, it actually increases the city percentage on the city contribution. So that was a secondary benefit. And this really just becomes a greenway connection project that's all about multimodal and really connecting parts of the city that are not connected right now. So that's the sales point. The title and the name of the project has not been settled on. There's some internal and external discussion going on with NCDOT about what might be catchy, because somebody's reading probably 500 of these things, and you want something that describes the project but also checks 2 or 3 of those boxes. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone with any questions for staff? So this is just a resolution of support to be sent to US DOT.
Motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
Motion's been made to approve, seconded by Councilwoman Peters. Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? All right. Hope we're fishing in the right pond. All right. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Councilman Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
And Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye. So item's approved by a vote of 9-0. Next is we have some various reappointments. This is kind of the time of year when appointments are running out and getting redone. The first one is, these are 3 reappointments to, or 2 reappointments and an appointment to the Citizens Advisory Council. One is the reappointment of Donald Belton as my representative on the CAC. Second one is reappointment of Jessica Wynn as Councilmember Hudson's Ward 4 appointee. And the third one is a appointment of Kishana Person as Councilmember Jefferson's Ward 1 appointee. I will go ahead and make the motion to approve these reappointments. Is there a second?
Second, Jefferson.
Seconded by Councilman Jefferson. Any discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore? Aye. Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye. Item's approved by a vote of 9-0. Next are some, this is item 2021-268. These are reappointments to the Historic Preservation Commission. First one is reappointment of Mary Powell DeLilly as Councilman Hudson's Ward 4 appointment. And then the next one is reappointment of Brenda Stewart as Councilmember Jefferson's Ward 1 appointee. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Johnson.
Second, and Councilman Johnson. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore? Aye. Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. Items are approved by a vote of 9-0. All right, next is Theater Advisory Board. Councilman Hudson is the liaison to the Theater Advisory Board, and he's requested to confirm the following appointments and reappointments. Appointees would be Nicholas Creedle, Mary McInerney, and then some reappointments of Tom Blunt, Noah Bowie, Clay Fielding, and Edie Williams. I will go ahead and make the motion to approve that item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Hudson. Any conversation on this item? Okay, Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Councilman Moore? Aye. Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. We do have a couple of items that I need to add to the agenda, so don't pack up quite yet. I know, y'all getting all excited. Y'all getting excited, that's right. So the first one, I'm going to need a motion to suspend the rules to add two items. One is a reappointment for the Citizens Advisory Council that Councilman Holmes would like to bring. And the second one is a resolution of support for proceeds relating to some opioid litigation.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules to add those two items. Motion is made by Councilman Williams, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Is there anyone who objects to suspending the rules to add these two items? Okay, hearing none, and we have suspended the rules to add the two items unanimously. So the first item is the reappointment to the Citizens Advisory Council of Warren Boone. Councilman Holmes, would you like to speak to that item?
Warren Boone was my appointment. He completed a term, and this is a reappointment for a full term.
Is this a motion?
This is a motion. Motion to reappoint Warren Boone.
Seconded by Councilman Johnson. All right, any discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Councilman Moore? Aye. Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Jefferson?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye. The item's approved by a vote of 9-0. I'm going to sort of turn this over to the city attorney to talk about this opioid litigation item. Madam Attorney, would you address this?
I will try my best. This is a request from the Guilford County attorney for you to consider adoption of a resolution supporting the execution of an MOU. It would result in some proceeds possibly coming back to the city of High Point. There were hundreds of lawsuits by states and counties and cities that were filed with regards to the damages that the local governments had experienced due to the opioid crisis. Those lawsuits actually filed against pharmaceutical companies. Those many lawsuits were combined into a federal case that's been heard in the federal court in the Northern District of Ohio. Settlement discussions have been going on for quite a while, and they are close to a settlement which may result in $750 to $850 million, possibly coming to the state of North Carolina, with approximately 13 million of that may be coming to the city of High Point. Funds would be spread out over 18 years, and there are restrictions attached to the funds. They would have to be used, right now it looks like they'll have to be reused, related to the damages that might be associated with opioids, and the prevention, the treatment, and that sort of thing. City of High Point did not file a lawsuit when we looked at the damages versus the actual time and everything that it would have cost the city, but we still will be entitled to share in the funds. So that's the request. I'm glad to answer.
Is that, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Yeah, any questions?
Is that like applicable to like the marquees, the PPEs that the police
It
use?
is. It is.
Okay.
One of the things back, several years ago when we were visited by some local council and we were looking at whether or not City of High Point was going to file individually a lawsuit in the matter. We didn't have as many damages, but we didn't spend the time looking at the man hours and everything. We looked at, we get reimbursed for the Narcan, and the county has the health department. There are some cities in North Carolina that actually had damages, like Jacksonville, I think, was one of the cities that went in jointly with the county and had set up a treatment center and everything. So they had some real numbers that you could look to. Perhaps if this becomes available, it'll be something that we want to revisit and look at the actual expense of the calls, when the 911 calls come in, the actual man hours that are expended, the use of the equipment and that sort of thing.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. Then I'll go ahead then and make the motion for approval of the resolution by the City of High Point in support of the settlement of the opioid litigation. Is there a second?
Second, Jefferson.
Multiple seconds on that. Madam Clerk, we'll go with Councilwoman Peters.
Thank you.
I think I heard her first.
Winning tonight.
That's right.
It is.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, is there anyone opposed to this motion? Okay, in that case, I will consider it approved by unanimous vote. We do have some minutes to be approved. Is there anyone who has any additions or deletions, changes to the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve been made by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Is there anyone opposed to the approval of the minutes as stated? Okay. Hearing none, then those minutes are approved by a vote of 9-0. And this council will now stand in recess until 5:30. Whoop, hello.
I do have a need
Oh.
to request that we go into closed session for the
About to
purpose of
forget.
personnel discussion.
Thank you for catching that. I will need a motion to go into a short closed session for purposes of attorney-client privilege, is it?
So moved.
Or personnel?
Personnel.
And attorney-client privilege, I think.
Yeah, great combination.
Okay, so moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and
Second.
seconded by Councilman Hudson. Anyone opposed to going into closed session at this time? Okay, hearing none, council is now in closed session in maybe 10 to 15 minutes
At the most.
at the most. And I don't anticipate, for those listening online, I do not anticipate council taking action on anything further following the closed session.
Tell my man.